Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. It is another episode of our Mindset Monday series. This is a series that we started a few months ago, really to help CPA candidates like yourself navigate some of the mindset challenges that can end up costing you valuable points on the CPA exam. So, if you've listened to some of these videos before, you know I'm a huge proponent of that it's not just the technical skills, knowing the debits and credits and being familiar with the content that determines whether or not you're going to pass this exam. There is such a huge mental component that goes along with this too. And one of the main complaints that I hear from candidates that I'm speaking with and clients that I work with to help them pass the exam is, you know what, Erin, I just hate studying. I dread this exam. And so there's a lot of different negative relationships that I've heard people having when it comes to the CPA exam. And we're going to talk about that a bit today. Because what I've found is that when you have a negative or a disempowering relationship with this exam, it really trickles down and starts to impact every aspect of your life. So, not only does it make studying and showing up to study every single day more difficult, it makes your studying less effective, which makes it really, I think that's just a cycle in itself, right? If you don't want to study or you have a hard time studying and then it's not effective and you're not seeing results, you're going to continue to dread showing up to study every day. That's also going to obviously impact your scores and your ability to pass the exam. And then it has some emotional impacts too. That frustration and that frustration may turn into procrastination, which could put you behind. That can all impact your relationships, the amount of fun you're having in your life at the moment, and all of that is just a recipe for disaster. Who wants that? I mean, life is hard enough, life is challenging enough. We don't need one more thing, in particular the CPA exam, to be something that you dread. So, what I'm going to share with you today are a few ways that you can start to love the CPA exam. So, learning to love the CPA exam and the process. My goal is that by helping you to shift your mindset around these things, you can actually start to enjoy the process, be more effective as you invest time into studying for this exam, and just thrive in general. Who doesn't want that? Okay, so let's start with your current mindset. We need to first identify or name the relationship that you have with the CPA exam right now. So I've come up with a few of the most common examples that I hear from candidates recently. So one of the reasons why you don't love this exam might be that you're relating to this test as a combatant, as something that you need to overcome, or truly relating to the exam as a battle. It's interesting that candidates actually use that word, those warlike terms, battle, war, combatant, that the exam is my enemy, studying is my enemy. And if you just imagine that that's how you're going in relating to this exam, I think of it like you almost gear up. You put on your suit of armor. You'd get ready for battle. You'd tense up. You would tighten up. And that physiologically does not put you in a great place to learn and to absorb information if we're tense, if we're tight, if we're in sort of a fight or flight mode. So that in itself, just those, using those words, those types of terms to describe the exam may be impacting your experience already if we just left it at that. You may also be thinking of this as something that could possibly conquer you. So, not so much as something you have to conquer, but you may be thinking of it from the other side, like this test is going to get me. This content area is going to get me or cost me points, or this is going to be the reason that I fail. Again, puts you into that sort of fight or flight mode. Not a great place to come from when we're trying to learn and absorb new information, or let alone have a good time and actually enjoy the process, right? So that's one of the things that might resonate for you. One of the other things that I hear candidates doing that I think impacts their ability to really enjoy this process is they're only relating to the CPA exam as something that they have to do, whether it's for your job or for, mom and dad wanted me to do this, or I feel like it's something I have to do to earn credibility. Whatever the reason is, if you're only relating to this exam as something that will tick a box for you or something that you have to do, that's going to be challenging. Now, I'm not going to go into that in a ton of detail today because next week we have a fantastic guest with us on Mindset Monday, and we're going to talk a lot about that. So I'll give you a few hints and previews, and then I'll let him dive into that into greater detail next week. Now, the third one is seeing the exam as something that is detracting from the rest of your life. So whether you're relating to your studying as taking away time from friends and family or a relationship, or I can't do X, Y, and Z fun things that I like to do, or things that are important to me because I have to study, then of course you're not going to like studying. It's just natural that with that mindset, you would start to build up a resentment towards the exam because it's keeping all of these other positive things out of your life at the moment. So maybe that resonates for you. And then the fourth most common is that candidates often don't see the bigger picture value for themselves. Now, what I mean by this is you might be thinking, well, I have to, this kind of relates to number 2. You might be thinking, I have to do this, I have to pass the CPA exam for my job. But if your long-term life and job goals don't relate to the CPA, you might be thinking, this doesn't actually have any value for me long term. It's just something that I have to do short term. Now, that's not uncommon. I've worked with a number of people who, for the job that they're in currently, have to pass the CPA exam. And then for, if you ask them what they really want to do long term, they really want to be a photographer. They really want to be a CEO of a family business, or run a marketing agency, whatever it is. So they may often struggle with, why am I doing this? What is the big value add? So that may be you too. If you find yourself in any of these categories, and frankly, could be another category that I haven't talked about, the important thing is that you identify what your current relationship is with this exam. And to the extent that it is disempowering or making your experience a negative one, let's work to shift that relationship. Whatever we focus on expands. So if you show up to studying every single day thinking, this is going to be terrible, this exam has no value for me, I have no reason to be doing this, this is costing me valuable time that I could be spending doing something else, then that's exactly what your experience is going to be. It's just like if you go to an event and you think, this is going to be terrible, this is not going to be any fun, you go in, and if that's what you're thinking, that's likely to be your experience. It makes it a lot harder for you to see the positives or for you to actually enjoy the experience if you're going in with that mindset, as opposed to if you go sort of open-minded and say, I'm not sure what this event or this experience is going to bring, but it could be good. Let me just go in. Let me be curious. Let me see and explore. You're much more likely to be open to and to have just a very different experience with that event. So what we focus on expands. Now, what I want to say as a caveat to this is, even when we successfully shift your mindset from this old, negative, disempowering relationship to the exam to a new one, and we choose, it's really a process of choosing a new way to relate to this exam, one that hopefully opens up a lot more possibility for you, hopefully makes this process more enjoyable. There will always be a draw to come back to that original disempowering mindset. You may notice that at first you're able to hold on to a positive mindset or an empowering mindset for maybe a day, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 10 minutes before you are drawn back to that negative one. You're going to have to choose a different relationship, choose a positive or empowering relationship over and over again. As you do that, the more frequently you choose that positive mindset, the longer you'll be able to hold on to that, the less and less frequently you will find yourself in that negative or disempowered place around the exam. And over time, you may be able to get rid of that negative or disempowering relationship altogether. But just know, in the beginning, it's really a process of choosing intentionally your new relationship to the exam, one that is full of possibility for yourself. And then it's a process of choosing it over and over again. So some people go into this thinking it's going to be like a light switch. Oh, boom, changed my relationship to the exam. Unfortunately, that doesn't last, right? We're sort of creatures of habit. It's natural, especially when we have any sort of fear or if we are challenged by something, it's very natural to go back to that disempowered place. So I'd just like you to know it's a process of choosing over and over again. Now, let's talk about shifting your perspective. I'm going to go back through that list that we talked about before and share some possibilities with you of new ways that you can relate to the exam that might make it more empowering, more exciting, maybe even be something that's enjoyable for you. So, the main question here to ask yourself is, what is another way I could relate to this exam? If I'm not relating to it as a battle or a war or this exam as my enemy, what's another relationship that I could choose to have with this exam? I could come to it with curiosity. I could go into this exam really focusing on the learning opportunities, not focusing on it being a win or a lose, a pass or a fail, although of course that's there too. But pass or fail, win or lose, again, has that sort of battle-like context to it, which can be pretty stressful. It can add extra pressure and anxiety potentially. So I'd love to see you step away from that if that's what's going on for you and it's not working. So curiosity is a great one. I love that. Looking at it as a learning opportunity, really thinking about how these different things that you're learning could apply to your job or to future prospects, future jobs, future goals that you have. Think of it as an exploration. Really, these are just my words and these are suggestions. They're certainly things that previous clients of mine have utilized. The whole idea is we have to get it out of that disempowering mindset. And the one that we were talking about specifically is a battle. So if it weren't about winning or losing, what would it be about? What could it be about for you? Could be about the journey. Could be about just enjoying the journey, learning in the process. So throwing out a couple of ideas for you. I'd love to hear what you come up with as well. Now, again, we're not going to dive too deeply into this idea of if you're relating to the exam only as something that you have to do, as opposed to something that you want to do in great detail, because we're going to talk about that in an extended special version of Mindset Monday next week. But the main idea here is to think about something else that's in it for you. Long term. Get clear on your long-term vision, not only for work, not only for the CPA exam, but truly for your life. And start to identify ways that the exam or becoming a CPA can actually get you closer to that long-term vision that you have for your life. Doing that is going to give you more purpose, more reason behind it, more of that what's in it for me, than if you're only holding it as something that I have to do for my job or something to tick a box, or maybe worse of all, something I'm doing to please somebody else. That's going to be challenging. That's going to make it something that is really hard to stay motivated for, and in fact doesn't put you in a great place to learn and to absorb that information. Now, seeing this exam as something that is distracting from your life, I see all the time. I used to talk to a lot of candidates who, in setting themselves up for this process, thought that the only way to be successful was to only focus on studying, maybe work and then I study. But I basically cut out everything else from my life in order to set myself up for success on this exam. The thing with that is that it's not sustainable. This is a long-term process. So I'm a big proponent of making sure that you are carving out time to do the things that are important to you. Most importantly, taking care of your well-being, getting out into nature or exercising or doing yoga, whatever that is that really fills you up. spending time with friends and family, having some relaxation and downtime. You can't expect yourself to go, 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 go constantly without a break or without recharging your batteries at some point. So the key to that, if right now you're thinking of this exam as the thing that is between you and everything that you want to do, is figure out a way to incorporate those things now. Now, will there be a little bit of sacrifice? Yes. Will you potentially have to do less of those activities or say no to certain things if they don't really fit into your study schedule? Perhaps. But I've had clients who have successfully gone on vacation while studying for the exam. They have spent time with friends and family. They've built relationships. They've maintained relationships. You can do it. You just have to set a structure. So maybe that looks like studying in the morning and having your afternoons for quality time with your family. Maybe that means setting aside one night a week where you have date night or you go and spend time with friends. Maybe you use some of these things that you really love, experiences, things you're looking forward to as rewards to help motivate you and drive you to continue to study and to be really effective every time you sit down to study, so that you get a good result on the exam and you use these experiences and these things that you love as a way to celebrate your success. Find a way to do that now. Doing that, really fueling yourself, fueling that energy, recharging your batteries is just going to have you come back to studying stronger. And most importantly, will not have that resentment building up between you and the exam. That will really suck your energy and make it hard to continue. That's going to make this whole process something where you are really having to force it, right? Really struggle through the process. And I don't want you to struggle anymore. Get off that struggle bus once and for all. Now, finally, if you find yourself in that boat that says, I'm just not seeing the big picture value in this for me, the reality is the CPA exam is not for everybody. So you may, after some soul searching, really discover that this is not worth it. In fact, our special guest next week is going to talk about that he had a similar experience to that and ultimately decided it was not the path he wanted to go. Now, I don't recommend that you make that decision lightly, especially if you're pretty far down the path, but I wouldn't be doing my job as a coach if I didn't throw that out there as a possibility. It is a very real choice to say it's not for me. My request is always of my clients that be a really empowered choice as opposed to a reaction. Not something that you do with haste, not something you do without consideration. It's very easily something that you could look back on years from now and regret that decision if you don't think through it very thoroughly. But for some people, that is the decision they land on, and that's perfectly fine. If what you really want to do is something completely outside of the CPA exam, or where you don't have long-term benefit from doing this, I want you to pursue your goals, of course. I just want people to be able to really choose the life that they want. So it is important to me to put that out there as an option and let you know that that's okay too. Also, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you if that's what you're thinking, or if you're on the fence and you're not quite sure if this is something that you'd like to do. Let's talk about it. I'd be happy to support you in making that decision in an empowered way, not as a reaction, but really because you're choosing something else very powerfully. Okay, so let me just recap. First of all, you want to identify what your current relationship is to the exam, this disempowered or negative relationship with the exam currently that is not working for you. You need to recognize that what we focus on expands. So the more you focus on a negative or disempowering relationship with the exam, the more that will be and color your experience. It will make it a negative one. It will make it something that is the struggle bus, right? Something you have to suffer through and can't really enjoy. Physiologically, when we're in that place, there's neuroscience research behind it, things going on in your body that actually make it harder for you to learn. If you're coming from that negative place, if you are stressed or under pressure or just not engaged or in a fight or flight mode, you're not in a great place to learn. So the important thing then is to choose another way to come at this exam, another way to relate to it that is more empowering for you, something like curiosity or learning and enjoying the process, whatever that is for you. And again, I'd love, in fact, to engage in a conversation with you to come up with that new relationship that you want to take with you going forward into this exam. Having a new, more positive, more empowered relationship with the exam will make this process so much smoother. It will make maintaining your motivation a whole lot easier. It'll make showing up to your study session every day not something that you dread, but actually something that you look forward to. Can make the learning process much simpler, something that you actually learn as opposed to just cram and then purge the information. You might actually remember some of this later on. And overall, allows you to have more enjoyment in the process, not have it be an all or nothing situation where you have to sacrifice the rest of your life and your happiness and your sanity in order to pass the exam, but rather you can do all of it. You really can, and I'd love to support you in that. I hope you enjoyed and got some value from today's episode. As I mentioned, big special episode next week with a very special guest. I invite you to join. It will not be live, but please make sure to check that out. It will be up on YouTube, on Facebook, all of our social platforms, Monday the 22nd. So make sure not to miss that. If you are with us on Facebook, make sure you like and follow our page. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube for more content related to the CPA exam. And as always, if I can be of any support, send me a message. Get in touch. Let's talk about your CPA journey. I'd be happy to help you with that. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care. Bye.